And the first one is called a pastaciotti, which isn't really a cookie at all, but a little custard cup. And it starts with 2 cups of unbleached flour. And to that I want to add 1/2 cup of sugar. And all I want to do is mix that up a little bit in my sifter with about 3/4 of a teaspoon of baking powder. So just want to sift that into a bowl. And what I'm making here is really the pastry that will house a custard filling, a very basic filling that you could really use for other things as well. So once you've got the flour, the sugar, and the baking powder sifted together, well, then you can add some vegetable shortening. And here's 1/2 cup of vegetable shortening. And you want to get that coarsely mixed into your flour. So you can use a pastry blender like I have here. So here's my milk, about 1/4 cup. A little bit of vanilla flavoring goes in. I'd say, about a tablespoon. I like vanilla, so put in as much as you want. And now an egg. And I don't know if I'm going to use this entire egg. You want to use 1 large egg, so I'll put 1/2 of it in at the moment and see what I have left here. And then mix this up. So once you have that in a ball, well, then you have to put a little bit of flour on your board and knead this until it's nice and smooth. And then we want to let this rest in some plastic wrap, for about 5 minutes or so. You want to start with some sugar and some cornstarch. And here's mine. And now this is the trick to making a decent custard. Put the sugar, about 2/3 of a cup, in your saucepan. And then you want, about 3 tablespoons of cornstarch in with that, because this is going to be your thickening agent. And then with a wooden spoon off the heat, mix this up until you have no lumps. You don't want any lumps in this. If you wanted to put this through your sifter, you could do that as well, and that would guarantee you that you had no lumps. So get it as smooth as you can, and then turn on the heat. Turn on the heat. There we go. And you want to put that on medium-high and have ready some milk. And here is about 1.5 cups of milk. And I want to put that in slowly, so I mix in all of the dry ingredients very, very slowly to keep the mixture smooth. And once the milk is in, then you want to add some butter. And mix that around until you can't feel the grains of sugar on the bottom of the pan anymore, and the sugar is starting to dissolve with the heat. Then 1.5 tablespoons of butter go in this, and you want to let that melt. And now this is going to take, this part here, about maybe 6 minutes for this to thicken. This has really got to thicken up. And when it is thickened, let me show you what that looks like. I'm going to turn that one off and come over here and show you. You see? It's going to be like that. Now that is a thick enough pudding to put into our pastry, but we still have to do one other thing here. And what we have to do is add some egg to that. And I do that for a little bit of coloring. So I want to take, about a cup of this pudding out, because I don't want to put the egg into hot pudding, because then I'll just curdle my egg. And actually this is just an egg yolk. Take about a cup of that out, and then add my egg yolk. And here it is. In it goes. And mix that all around. And you see that's just going to help give a very nice color to that. So now this goes back in to our pan. You see how nice and yellow that is now? Because a white custard in this pastry just wouldn't look right. So that's that. And now I want to bring that back over to the stove, you see. Turn that on and just get that mixed in. I just want to keep that on low heat and mix it all well until it's well blended. Just like so. This is only going to take you, maybe about 20 or 30 seconds to do. You see? Just like that. And you see how nice and smooth that stayed. Now I'm going to turn that off, and the next thing I want to do is cool that pudding. So get out a clean bowl, bring over your mixture, and put it into a bowl. And then have ready a sheet of buttered waxed paper. Before I forget, I have to put my almond extract in here because I haven't done that yet. So there's my filling. And now a little bit of almond goes in there. Ooh, about a teaspoon. And now I'm going to put this in the refrigerator. That should get cold. So here's my buttered wax paper. That's to prevent a skin from forming on top of the pudding. So in it goes. And I'll bring out my cooled one. And let me show you what that looks like. There's a cooled pudding. Doesn't that look good enough to eat? But I will forego the opportunity at the moment. I'm going to keep that covered and work with a small piece at a time. I'm just going to take half of that and keep the rest of this covered. Bring over some flour. Always work on a good floured surface. And then get a rolling pin and roll this out, to about 1/4 of an inch thick. And here you have some variations on how to do this. See, there's a miniature custard cup, and that's going to go on my wedding cookie cake. And then there are these other forms. You can find 3-inch size ones like that. That's just aluminum. And here are some metal ones, and that's actually an old Jell-O container. So I'm going to make the 3-inchers for you. And you can use anything to cut this out. Here's an old jar top from, I think that's a bottle of mouthwash. I'm not sure. But anyway, you put this into the form, you see. You don't even have to grease the form. Just make sure that you pinch the dough into the form just like that. Look at that, how easy that is. See? And then, if you wanted to make a mini one, well, you just do the same thing. Put the dough in, like so, and then just go all the way around. I've made so many of these now, I could make them in my sleep. Now you have to fill those and put them on a tray. And here's some that I did earlier. Actually, I have to roll out the tops. I forgot about that, but let me show you the filling part first. You want to take some of that filling, not too much. You don't want to overload these, and put it right into the custard cup just like that. And then I'll do the miniature one. There. See, if you overfill them, then they're really going to fall over the tops. And then put this aside just for a second because these are going to have to go into the refrigerator. I've got to roll my dough out again because I need to put tops on. Forgot about that. How could I forget this? I just told you I made a zillion of these before. Okay, so then cut out those tops again and go right over the custard cup, you see? Then just pinch down with your hands like that. Look at that. It just comes right off. And quickly, I shall do the mini one for you. And all that excess just comes off too. And you want to make sure that you're really pinching down on the edges so that makes a nice tight seal. And then at the end, what you want to do, get that little piece off there, is give this a little bit of egg wash, you see? Right over the top, because that's going to give you a nice browned finish when you're done. Now, these can go on the tray, and they go in the refrigerator. And now, when you cook those, you want to have your oven on to 425 degrees. You're going to cook those for about 10 or 15 minutes. And when they come out, they will look something like that, you see? And they have to now cool down for a while, so I'm going to let them sit there. So now there they are, and how are you going to get them out? Good question. Well, what you're going to do is just flip them over. I kid you not, they come out that easy. And then squeeze, you see? Now, you probably want to know what that looks like inside, so let me show you. I'm going to cut one, turn it over. And now these are fine just the way they are, and you can see that that's going to be nice on a wedding cookie cake. There. You see that? Look at that custard. Stayed in there beautifully. I think I have to have a piece of that. You'd love it.